Hi, my name is Alex. In this video I'll show you two different kinds of connection of some distortion pedals. The first way is, as usually, connect them directly into the input of the amp, and the second is connect them into the input return, using them as preamps. Maybe you have heard this myth, these stories about some pedals. Why do they sound so bad if you connect them directly into the general input of the amp? For example, the Boss Metal Zone. I heard it in the last time often, for example, in a music store in Moscow. The workers there, they talked about the Boss Metal Zone. They said that it would sound bad if you connect it directly to the input, because this pedal is a preamp and it is better to connect it to the return input, and then it will sound better. So also other different distortion pedals. I have here the Boss Metal Core, then I have here the Nux Metal Core, then it is the Digitech Death Metal, and it is the Russian pedal Yarasov 7000 volts. So we'll try them in both ways and see if there will be some changes. Yes, I know there will be changes, but will they sound better? A few videos before I made a comparison to these both pedals, the metal core pedals, the Boss pedal and the Nux pedal. And I said in this video that I don't like how this pedal sounds. Especially the voice one, it sounds too digital. It is not good to listen to it. It sounds creepy and screamy. So I don't like the sound. It's a bad sound. The voice 2 is way better. But I don't really like this pedal. This one is much better for me. So I will try these two ways and we'll see. Will it sound better? I don't think so. If somebody doesn't know what is a preamp, I will tell you it in a short way. Every amplifier has a preamplifier and a power amplifier. And between these two amplifiers there are two inputs, or better to say one output, the send output, and the return input. It is the border, the connection point between these two amps. So what does the preamp do? The preamp is a smaller amp. The preamp increases the sound, but not so much. But it's correctly to say it makes a louder copy of the signal. It doesn't make the signal louder, the signal that comes in. It is physically impossible. Learn about the transistor, how it works, and also the tube or the valve works in the same way. Both of them create a copy of the signal that has more power. So the preamp makes a copy that is not so powerful, but it also creates the sound, especially if it has a distortion or overdrive channel. So it creates the sound. And the Q, you know, the knobs with the low, mid and high frequencies, they belong to the preamp. Also the ISF here on the Black Star amp. So they create an own sound. And this is the same thing what this pedal do. Okay, and they make a louder copy. But the power amp has the function just to make a very powerful copy, to make a loud sound. Okay, the power amplifier changes the sound a little bit too, but not too much. His general function is to make the signal louder. So, and some people think that these pedals, distortion or overdrive pedals, they also create a sound and they have a powerful output signal. It is not the same like the signal that comes from the guitar. It is pretty silent, but the signal that comes out is much louder. Okay, so the people think maybe it is a preamp, and yes, why not? But there are some but. The first but is that there are pedals like this, and the manufacturer called them directly that these pedals are preamps. And these preamps have different outputs, 2 or 3. One of them has emulation from a cabinet, so there is a built-in pulse from a cabinet. The other output can be without this emulation. The third one can be a through signal or a signal with lower signal. So these pedals have only one output, and the manufacturer don't call them preamps. So that's the first point. And the second point is that these pedals, like the Boss Metal Core, Boss Metal Zone, or this one, Eurasov 7000 volts, they don't sound bad if you connect them directly to the input. They sound good. I don't know why people think that they sound bad. Maybe they are not able to make the right adjustment to let them sound great, but they do. If you take this pedal, the Digitech Death Metal, yes, okay, this one doesn't sound so good, but it is a cheaper pedal. Like the other pedals in this line, it is the Grunge, it is the Bad Monkey Overdrive, the Hot Hat, and that are just cheaper pedals. And the sound is not so really good. They are not so bad, but I would say they have not so high quality. And the same, I would say, maybe for this pedal, because I already said the sound is too digital, too screamy, too creepy, and I think it won't sound better if I connect it to the return input. But we'll see. Okay, we'll see. And what's the so about this move in this sense? It is if you connect a preamp to another preamp, the sound will be bad because the sound is also being created here, and then in this preamp that'll be too much, that will destroy the sound. For example, if you use distortion here, and then here, okay, we use the clean channel for distortions and overdrives usually. But there is, for example, this tube screamer, a lower overdrive that we use to hit the overdrive or distortion channel from the amp. But the clean channel also saturates the signal if you turn it loud. So that's why people think that it's wrong to connect it this way. But, oh, I already said, these pedals sound good if you connect them to the input directly. And I also connected a preamp pedal to an amp directly. It was this one, the Eurasov High Gain, an imitation of the sound from Eddie Van Halen, and it sounds also good. It didn't sound bad, it was good. But there is only one thing that you need to give your attention, because it's important. If you use a preamp and put it directly to another preamp, don't turn the volume so much. If you turn the volume too much, well, then it can happen that you destroy this preamp, because the output signal will be too high for it and it'll burn. So be careful with it. I made also a marker on this preamp that was before 12 o'clock, and it was that point where it is okay, it is enough, it sounds good. But if you use pedals like this, there isn't this problem. Okay, it will be also pretty loud if you turn the volume on the maximum, but the preamp will not be destroyed. I tried different times with different pedals. For example, on 3 o'clock you can make it for sure. It will be loud, but you can decrease the volume on the amp and nothing will happen. It will be okay. So there's a difference between these pedals and the real preamps. And I can say to you already now that the biggest part of this myth is just a myth. Okay, there is a part that is true, okay, because of these pedals, how they work, how I already said, but there is a big difference. It's the same like the myth that some people think if you have a cheap guitar, a beginner guitar or a cheap pedal, and you will connect it to the valve amp or to the tube amp, it will sound great. No. If you have a bad quality guitar or bad quality pedal and that sounds bad, so it will sound bad. And it doesn't matter how you connect it and where you connect it. The only way is you can change the pickups on the guitar for some better, or take better pedals if they sound bad. So and I will show you it. Today I'm a myth buster. So let's change to the test. So as you can see, nothing changed with the character of the sound of this pedal. With preamp, without preamp, it was the same. The tone of this preamp was always in the middle position. So nothing changed. The character was also this too digital sound, too scream, too scratching. I'm talking about the voice 1. The voice 2 sounds good, it's okay, yes. And in general, the sound was without preamp worse, I would say, because it was not so bright. It becomes darker. So that's why I changed on every pedal the IQ position, because the sound was not so good. It was not so good, not so clear to hear. So I changed it to hear it a little bit better. But in general, I would say the sound was with the preamp much better. And so also this pedal, the death metal, as you could hear, it has also not so good quality. It sounds not so clear, but also the distortion is always on the maximum. There is no knob for distortion. But I saw some people who added one and that changed the game. It changed the game. So, but in general, nothing changed with these pedals. They sound not so good, they have not so good sound quality, and it doesn't matter with preamp or not. And the other two pedals, they sound good. And there's also no change. Just only that all the sound became darker, but in general they sound also the same, and they sound better with the preamp. And this pedal, as I already said, I think that seems to be a better copy of this pedal, because their character of the sound, character of the distortion is pretty similar. But this one sounds much better. That's an amazing pedal. It's one of my favorite pedals. I just have a bigger experience and I know how sounds a pedal with good sound quality and a pedal with bad sound quality. And if you have this experience, it is clear for you that nothing will change. It doesn't matter how you connect the pedal. In this case, with preamp or without preamp, a bad sound will stay a bad sound. At the beginning, I thought that maybe without preamp it sounds better because the frequencies were cut. That's why it sounded darker. But also these high frequencies, which sound not so good, but if you play a little bit longer, you hear that nothing has changed. It became just darker in general because all the frequencies were cut a little bit, and I think with the preamp the sound is much better. So that's it. I hope you enjoyed the video. I hope you get useful information. So hit the like button and write comments to support my channel. Also write comments about your experience. Maybe you have another experience with another amp. So write it down, it will be interesting. And goodbye.